Daniel pinched my name card between two fingers and slid it out of the brass holder as if removing a splinter. "You'll ruin the weekend if you come in there angry," he said. Through the open ballroom doors, his mother tapped a spoon against her glass. Celeste's green silk scarf gleamed beneath the chandeliers as she toasted, "The wisdom to choose more suitable wives." Then Lenora Vale stopped in the foyer, stared at the blue notebook under my arm, and looked at me. "Mara Ellis?" She stepped through the doors, reached for the microphone, and said, "Actually, I need Mara to lead the closing dinner." Daniel's face changed before the room had time to turn toward us. 48 hours earlier, he had kissed my cheek in our driveway and asked whether I had packed his navy tie. It was 6 a.m. He was holding a travel mug he had forgotten to fill and standing beside the open trunk of my Subaru while I tried to fit Celeste's hard-sided suitcase behind 2 garment bags, a portable steamer, and a box of printed retreat programs. "The tie is in the outside pocket of your garment bag," I said. "The zip pocket or the snap pocket?" "The zip pocket." He smiled. "This is why I married you." At the time, it landed like a joke. Daniel could still make old lines sound warm when he wanted to. He had a way of lowering his voice on the last few words, as if he were letting me in on something. Celeste came out of our townhouse carrying a white bakery box and wearing sunglasses large enough to qualify as protective equipment. "There's no room," she announced. "There's room," I said. "I can hold the pastries on my lap, but the icing will crack. The road curves after Millbrook. You could put them on the floor behind Daniel. People put shoes on floors." Daniel took the bakery box from her and handed it to me. "Can we perform one miracle before sunrise?" I moved the steamer, turned the program box on its side, and made a flat space for the pastries. Celeste watched me close the trunk. "You have a talent for making do." "Thank you." She had not meant it as praise, but refusing the insult sometimes annoyed her more than receiving it. Daniel climbed into the passenger seat. His mother settled in the back and immediately asked me to raise the temperature. I had spent the previous evening checking the oil, filling the tank, and printing the directions, because Daniel said the navigation signal became unreliable near the lodge. He had spent it trying on 3 jackets and asking which one made him look most like himself. He meant the self he had been at 22, quick, handsome, welcomed everywhere. The self who had been unemployed for 8 months was not attending the retreat. According to the Alumni directory, Daniel was an independent strategy consultant. According to our joint checking account, he had earned $1,100 since February, most of it from reviewing a former classmate's business plan. He said the work was about to accelerate. I had stopped asking when. Stonebridge Lodge was 3 hours north, built around a 19th century manor with newer guest wings tucked behind it. Photographs online showed stone fireplaces, dark beams and terraces descending toward a lake. Daniel's Alumni Association held its retreat there every 4 years, and this was the first time spouses had been included for the entire weekend. Included, I would learn, was a flexible word. Half an hour into the drive, Celeste leaned between the seats. "Did you bring the lint brush?" "In the console," I said. Daniel opened it and found gum, charging cables, a tire gauge, and the lint brush. Celeste said, "Mara thinks of everything." "Occupational damage," I said. "Hospitality is a very useful field." "So is cardiology. I don't ask cardiologists to check my pulse at breakfast." Daniel laughed, then saw his mother's expression and turned the laugh into a cough. Celeste sat back. "I only meant that you're fortunate to do work that translates so well into domestic life." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Glasshouse Hospitality handled museum galas, board retreats, university dinners, and private events, where the flowers cost more than my first car. I built production schedules, negotiated with chefs, tracked donor preferences, and knew which historic venues had electrical systems that would surrender if someone plugged in 2 coffee urns at once. Celeste described all of it as being good with napkins. Daniel rested his hand on my knee. To anyone watching, it would have looked affectionate. "Let's keep today easy," he said. His thumb pressed once, a private period at the end of the sentence. At the next gas station, he asked me to pull over so Celeste could get tea. He followed me inside while she inspected the refrigerated case. "You know how she gets when she's nervous," he murmured. "Your mother is nervous. She wants this to go well for me. So do I." "I know, just don't turn every comment into a contest." I made a cardiology joke. "You know what I mean." I did. He meant that Celeste could throw a knife, but if I pointed out the blood, I had made dinner unpleasant. He picked up a bottle of sparkling water, glanced at the price, and put it back. I bought it with the gas. When we returned to the car, Celeste had opened the center console and was holding my spare townhouse key. "This should not be lying loose," she said. "It was under the tire gauge. Someone could take it. Someone would have to break into the car first." Daniel held out his hand. "I'll put it on my ring." "I keep it there for emergencies." "Exactly." He clipped it beside his own key before I could answer. Celeste gave me a small, approving smile and opened her tea. The spare key had been an argument for years. Daniel gave Celeste one during the first winter of our marriage because she lived 40 minutes away, and, in his words, family should be able to help. Help had included bringing in packages, watering a plant I had not asked her to water, and once reorganizing our kitchen while we were at work. I came home unable to find the coffee filters and discovered my grandmother's chipped yellow bowl in a donation box by the door. Daniel had rescued the bowl. He had also said his mother was trying to be useful. A year later, I changed the lock after the mechanism began sticking. I gave Daniel one key and kept the spare in my car. I never told Celeste. Now it hung from his ring. "Give that back," I said. He looked at me, surprised by the sharpness in my voice. "For heaven's sake," Celeste said, "I have no intention of invading your little house." Daniel unclipped it and dropped it into the cup holder. "There, national security restored." I put it back under the tire gauge. For the next 40 miles, Celeste discussed people I had never met as though I had failed to remember them. Everett Sloan had sold a logistics company and was advising 3 boards. His second wife collected contemporary ceramics. Peter Ainsley had gained weight. Trina Vale had embarrassed herself at a winter benefit by wearing white shoes. "Lenora Vale," Daniel corrected, "and Trina is her sister." "Lenora is the organizer?" I asked. "One of them," he said. "The one who emailed about dietary restrictions." Celeste leaned forward again. "Did you answer that?" Daniel forwarded it to me. I could have answered, "I'm allergic to walnuts, you aren't." It still reflects on the family. Daniel turned in his seat. "Mom, sit back. Mara handled it." He sounded tired, and gratitude moved through me before I could stop it. That was the miserable arithmetic of our marriage lately. One sentence in my defense could erase 5 made at my expense. Celeste settled back and adjusted the scarf inside her handbag. Green silk printed with tiny gold chains. She had brought it in tissue paper so it would not crease. I first saw that scarf 12 years earlier, the afternoon she came to inspect the townhouse Daniel and I had rented after our wedding. She opened the hall closet, decided there was insufficient room for guests, and removed my raincoat, work tote, and boots. By the time I noticed, she had arranged them in a plastic bin in the basement. "Your mother moved me out of my own closet," I told Daniel. "She made one shelf. She made me one shelf. In the basement." He laughed because he thought I was exaggerating. Then he saw I wasn't and carried my things upstairs. I remembered that part whenever I needed to prove to myself that he had once understood. At Stonebridge, a valet approached before I had fully stopped the car. Daniel got out, buttoning his jacket. "Mr. Ellis," a gray-haired man called from the entrance. "You actually came." Daniel's whole body opened. His shoulders went back, his face brightened. He crossed the drive and embraced the man with a delighted roughness I had not seen in months. Celeste lowered her window. "That's Everett." The valet stood beside the trunk, waiting for my key. "I'll park it myself," I said. "Mara." Celeste spoke softly, her public voice. "Don't be difficult the moment we arrive. I need access to the car. They'll bring it whenever you ask. I have supplies in the trunk." Daniel returned with Everett beside him. Mara, you remember Ev? I did not. Daniel had shown me a photograph from an alumni magazine in which Everett had more hair. Of course, I said, extending my hand. Everett took it warmly. The famous Mara. Dan says you're the reason he gets anywhere on time. That makes me sound like a chauffeur with a calendar. Everett laughed. Daniel did too, half a second late. And this is my mother, Celeste. Everett's warmth intensified. Celeste knew how to make people feel that their arrival had fulfilled a private hope of hers. She touched his sleeve and said his name twice. Within 30 seconds, she had remembered his late father's favorite bourbon and asked about the ceramics collector without calling her his second wife. The valet took our luggage. I kept my car key. Inside, the foyer smelled of wood smoke and lemon polish. An alumni banner hung above a registration table, its navy fabric slightly crooked. 2 volunteers were trying to untangle lanyards. Someone had placed a tall arrangement of lilies beneath a low chandelier, forcing the flowers sideways. Without thinking, I reached to rotate the vase so the bruised petals faced the wall. Celeste noticed. "Please don't start fixing things," she whispered. I moved a vase. "This weekend is not one of your events." At the registration table, the volunteer handed Daniel a thick welcome envelope and Celeste a cream card marked Guest. She shuffled the remaining cards, then frowned. "I don't see one for Mara Ellis." Daniel glanced at the ballroom doors. "She was added late," he said. I looked at him. "I registered the same night you did." "Maybe they printed yours separately." The volunteer searched again. "I can write one." "That's fine," I said. Daniel's hand landed lightly between my shoulder blades. "Let's get settled first. We're holding up the line." There was no line. Upstairs, our room had 1 bed. Celeste's room was 2 doors down, with a lake view and a small sitting area. She stood in our doorway while Daniel tipped the bellman, using cash I had given him that morning. The suite upgrade only applied to 1 room, she explained. Daniel thought my back would benefit from the sofa. "My back enjoys sofas too," I said. Daniel waited until Celeste left before closing the door. "Can you not do this for 5 minutes?" "Do what?" "The remarks, the scorekeeping." "I made a joke about a sofa. You've made a joke about everything since we left." He opened his garment bag and began moving hangers into the closet. The navy tie was exactly where I had told him it would be. I set my overnight case on the luggage rack. Why wasn't there a name card for me? Administrative mistake. You told her I was added late. I was trying to make it less awkward. For whom? He pulled out his old college blazer. It was charcoal wool with a burgundy lining, too warm for the season and tighter through the shoulders than it used to be. "I thought that was at home," I said. My mother picked it up. "When?" "Yesterday." "She was in our house yesterday?" "She wanted me to have it." My gaze went to his key ring on the dresser, his house key, his office key from a job he no longer had, a small brass bottle opener, no unfamiliar spare. "She still has a key?" Daniel kept arranging his shirts. "Apparently she found the old one. The old one doesn't work. She used the spare from your car." The room became strangely precise. The brass lamp, the folded hotel robe, the little card on the desk promising that the lodge took sustainability seriously. "You gave it to her after I asked for it back?" "She needed to do us a favor." "It wasn't a favor I asked for." He exhaled and turned. "This is what I mean, Mara. Everything becomes territorial with you. It's our house, and she's my mother. Those facts sat between us as if only one could be honored at a time." He softened when he saw my face. Daniel was good at softening after impact. "She went in, got the blazer, and left. That's all. Give me the key." "She has it in her bag. I'll get it later. Now. We have the welcome reception in 20 minutes. I don't care. I do." He lowered his voice. "Everett asked me to find him before the reception. I may finally have a real opening here, and I need one weekend that isn't about whether my mother touched the wrong object." There it was. the unemployed self, close enough to see. Frightened, embarrassed, furious that fear had made him dependent. I said, "You could have asked me. You would have said no. That's why you ask." He looked away first. I opened my suitcase and reached for the blue notebook I packed beneath my toiletry bag. Whenever I traveled, I carried it out of habit. The linen cover was frayed at the corners, and an old coffee stain darkened the last dozen pages. It held vendor numbers, room diagrams, menu notes, and solutions to problems I hoped never to meet twice. It wasn't there. I checked beneath my sweaters, then the outside pocket, then the overnight case. Daniel watched me search. "What's missing?" "My work notebook. Maybe you left it at home. I packed it last night." He adjusted the cuffs of his old blazer. The right sleeve had a pale line where it had been let out. "Mara, you don't need work this weekend." A knock sounded. Celeste entered without waiting, the green scarf now knotted neatly at her throat. Under one arm she carried a Navy Alumni folder. Beneath it I saw the worn blue corner of my notebook. "Give me that." Celeste stopped just inside the room. "Give you what?" "My notebook." She looked down as if surprised to find it in her possession. "Oh, this. I brought it because the retreat committee had a few questions." "You went through my desk?" "It was sitting beside the printer. It was in the middle drawer." Daniel touched the bridge of his nose. "Can we lower the volume?" Celeste removed the alumni folder and held out the notebook. Yellow sticky tabs protruded from the top and sides. My name, embossed in fading silver on the cover, was partly hidden beneath a label that read, "Dinner Flow." I took it from her. "You marked my pages. Only the relevant ones." "The relevant ones to what?" "The committee's caterer has been making a muddle of things. Daniel mentioned that you had notes from similar events." Daniel picked up his tie. "I said you'd probably have a few ideas." So she took my house key, went into my desk, and removed my property. Celeste's chin lifted. "I retrieved your husband's blazer at his request. The notebook was right there." "In a drawer." I looked for cufflinks. "In my desk?" "Do you have any idea how exhausting it is to be treated like a burglar every time I help you?" She did not raise her voice. Celeste's anger became more refined as it sharpened, like sugar cooked until it could cut skin. I opened the notebook. One of the sticky tabs marked a floor plan from a medical foundation dinner. Another flagged a page about staggering speeches between courses so servers could clear quietly. Beside my note about keeping a spare vegetarian plate near the service station, Celeste had written in pencil, "Excellent thought, CE." "You added your initials to my notes." I marked what I had already communicated so we wouldn't repeat ourselves. "To whom?" "Lenora." She was grateful. Daniel stepped between us to reach the mirror, positioning himself so casually that it took me a second to understand what he had done. "This isn't a conspiracy," he said. "Mom had coffee with Lenora last month. She offered a few suggestions. That's all." Suggestions from my notebook. Suggestions you've made 100 times. You say these things at breakfast. That doesn't make them community property. Celeste gave a short, incredulous laugh. "They're seating charts, Mara, not nuclear codes." I turned to Daniel. "Get the key back." I said I would. "Before the reception." His jaw tightened. "Fine." Celeste pressed one hand to the green scarf at her throat. "You are welcome to search me if that will complete the experience. Just give him the key." She reached into her purse and removed it from a zippered pocket. Daniel held out his hand, but I held out mine. After a pause long enough to have an opinion, she placed it on my palm. "Thank you," I said. "I hope you enjoy the retreat." She walked out, leaving the door open. Daniel waited until her footsteps faded. Was that satisfying? No. It looked satisfying. I wanted my key and my notebook. I have them. You humiliated her. She took both. To help me. There it was again, the phrase that turned his choices into weather. His mother had done it. She had wanted. She had meant well. Events simply arrived around him and demanded that I be reasonable. I slid the notebook into the bottom of my suitcase and locked the little brass zipper with the luggage lock I normally used at airports. Daniel watched. That's dramatic. It's a zipper. He knotted his tie too tightly, pulled it loose, and started again. In the mirror, he looked older than he had in the driveway. Not old, just tired in a way expensive wool couldn't hide. "I need this weekend to work," he said. "I know." "Do you?" "Yes, Daniel. I'm the one paying for it." The tie went still in his hands. I regretted the sentence as soon as I said it, not because it was untrue, but because it used his fear as a weapon. His face closed. "I'll pay you back." "I didn't ask you to. You just reminded me. I reminded you because you're acting like I drove 3 hours to sabotage you. You've been waiting for me to admit I need something. I would love for you to admit you need something." He looked at me then. For one breath, I thought we might finally say the true thing, that his job loss frightened us both, that pretending had become more expensive than failing, that I missed the man who once let me see when he was scared. Instead, he reached for his jacket. "Please don't discuss our finances with anyone." I wasn't planning to, or my situation at Mercer. "Your situation at Mercer is that you don't work there." He flinched. Exactly this tone. What should I call it? I don't know. A transition, consulting, taking time to find the right fit. "What have you told Everett?" "That I'm exploring options." "Does he know you were laid off?" Daniel opened the door. "I'm going downstairs." He left his welcome envelope on the desk. Through the clear window, I could see 2 drink tickets and a folded card marked "Closing Dinner Table 7." Only his name was printed on it. I showered, changed into a rust-colored dress, and put my room key and car key into a small black purse. Before leaving, I checked the suitcase lock twice. The welcome reception filled the lodge terrace with navy blazers, linen jackets, and women wearing the particular neutral colors that suggested they did not expect to spill anything. A jazz trio played near the doors. Beyond the railing, the lake held the last light in flat strips of silver. I found Daniel beside Everett and 2 other men. Celeste stood close enough to be included, but far enough to look gracious. Her hand rested on Daniel's sleeve. When she saw me, her gaze traveled from my dress to my shoes. "Mara," Daniel said too brightly. "You made it." I found the elevator all by myself. Everett smiled. "Dan tells me you organize events." I manage them. "For a hotel?" "Glasshouse Hospitality." Something flickered across his face. Recognition maybe, but Daniel stepped in. "Mara is the person who makes sure 200 people get the right chicken." "Unless they ordered fish," I said. One of the men laughed. His wife, a compact woman with silver curls, extended her hand. "Patrice Hammond. I spent 30 years making sure faculty members got the right chicken. Then they promoted me, and I made sure they submitted receipts." "Mara Ellis. Patrice chaired the College Arts Council," Everett said. "Until I developed survival instincts," Patrice replied. A server passed with sparkling wine. Daniel accepted 2 glasses and gave one to Everett. Celeste said, "Mara doesn't care for crowds." "I work in events," I said. "Yes, but that's different. You're occupied." Patrice lifted an eyebrow at me over her glass. Daniel steered the conversation toward Everett's advisory work. He had prepared. He mentioned a supply chain article Everett had written, asked about mid-market acquisitions, and made a sharp observation about firms mistaking software for strategy. For 10 minutes, I saw the version of him people hired. Attentive, quick, able to make someone else's idea feel improved simply because he understood it. Everett responded. He asked questions. Daniel relaxed. Then Everett said, "What kind of clients are you consulting with now?" Daniel took a sip. "Mostly private growth companies. I've kept it selective." "Smart if you can afford to." Celeste smiled. Daniel has never measured success by a paycheck. I nearly inhaled my wine. Daniel glanced at me. It was quick, but Patrice caught it. Everett nodded toward the lake. "Walk with me tomorrow morning. I may know someone looking for an operations lead." That would be terrific, Daniel said. The relief in his voice was so naked that my irritation loosened. I wanted him to have the conversation. I wanted him to get dressed on Monday and complain about traffic. I wanted our life to stop revolving around the careful absence of a job. A woman wearing a headset hurried across the terrace, speaking to a banquet captain. "We ordered 6 high tops," she said. "There are supposed to be 6. "There are 6. One is holding the projector. That makes 5 for guests." The captain stared at her. I looked away. Occupational damage. A tray of appetizers arrived. Celeste selected a pastry and then caught the server's wrist. "Does this have walnut?" "I believe it's mushroom." "Believe?" "I can check." "Mara has an allergy." The server's face tightened. "I'll check with the kitchen." "I already submitted the dietary form," I said. Celeste turned to the group. "She forgets to advocate for herself." "I advocate professionally," I said. Patrice coughed into her napkin to hide a smile. Daniel murmured, "Mara." Was that another dangerous joke? Everett became intensely interested in the lake. Celeste set the pastry back on the tray. "I'm trying to keep you safe." "Then don't stop servers by the wrist." The server fled with her tray. Daniel's expression told me I had crossed a line no one else could see. "I need to find Lenora," Celeste said. "There are still issues with tomorrow's dinner." She left the group. Daniel waited several seconds before following me toward the railing. "What did I ask you for?" "You asked me to lie about your job. I asked you to keep today easy." "I didn't bring up your job." Everett did. "You enjoy watching me sweat." The words were quiet enough that the jazz swallowed them. I stared at him. "Is that what you think?" "I think you're angry that I don't want you managing this weekend." "I didn't want to manage it. I wanted to attend it." "Then attend." "I don't have a badge. There's no dinner card for me. Your mother is giving my work to the organizer and you're telling people I arranged chicken." He rubbed his forehead. "The badge is a mistake." "And the dinner card?" "Probably the same mistake. Show me the email confirming both of us." "What? You heard me." "I'm not opening my email in the middle of a reception." "Then tell me when you added me." His eyes shifted past me to the terrace doors. I felt the answer before he spoke. Spouse registration was an additional $600. I know, I paid the invoice. That covered lodging. The invoice said full retreat package. They changed the structure. When? "Mara, can we do this upstairs?" "No, tell me." He lowered his voice further. "I thought you'd be happier using the weekend as a break. The dinners are all old stories and networking. You hate that. I drove you here. You wanted the car. I packed your clothes. I brought your medication. I paid the bill. What exactly did you think I was going to do while you attended the retreat? There's a spa." I laughed once. It came out louder than I intended. A couple near the doors looked over. Daniel's face hardened. "This is why I didn't tell you. Because I might react to being excluded? Because every practical decision becomes evidence that you aren't loved enough." The sentence landed with the precision of something rehearsed. Behind him, Celeste stood near the registration table, speaking with the woman in the headset. She had my floor plan page photocopied inside her navy folder. I could see my handwriting from across the room. The woman tapped the page, visibly relieved. Celeste touched her arm and smiled. "Where did she get a copy?" I asked. Daniel followed my gaze. "I scanned a few pages last week." "You what?" "The committee needed help. You scanned my notebook before she took it." "It was information, Mara. Useful information. For work, I'm not welcome to attend. It's not work. It's a favor." "Whose favor?" "Mine." The jazz trio finished a song. Applause rose around us, polite and automatic. Daniel stepped closer. "Lenora's trying to build a fundraising dinner series after this. If the retreat goes well, I may be able to stay involved. Those relationships matter. To your job search. To both of us." "And you told them you created the plans?" "I told them we had experience." "We." He looked toward Everett. "You know how people hear things," he said. If I say my wife plans dinners, I become the unemployed husband carrying her tote bag. For a moment, the honesty was almost worse than another lie. I said, "So I disappear, and my work makes you look competent." That is not what I said. It's exactly what you said. He reached for my elbow. I moved before he touched me. Patrice stood a few feet away, pretending to study the retreat program. She'd heard enough to know she was hearing something private. Her mouth pressed into a thin line, but she did not rescue me. I was grateful. Daniel's phone buzzed. He checked it. "Everett wants to confirm 7 tomorrow. Go answer him. Mara, go." He typed a response, still standing there, as though proximity could count as staying. Across the terrace, the woman with the headset shook Celeste's hand. Celeste accepted her gratitude with a modest tilt of her head. Then she caught my eye. She did not look guilty. She looked useful. That was when I understood this had not started with a missing name card or a $600 registration fee. My absence was part of what Daniel had offered. He had brought my car, my money, my allergy form, my work, and my willingness to smooth over discomfort. He had simply left me out of the package. I took my car key from my purse. "What are you doing?" he asked, getting my bag. "You have your bag, my work bag, the one in the trunk?" "For what?" I looked at the photocopied page in Celeste's hands, to make sure I know what else belongs to me. The valet brought the Subaru around with the pastries still in the trunk. One corner of the white box had collapsed, leaving a smear of icing on the cardboard. Celeste would blame the road. I opened the rear hatch and pulled out my black work tote. Inside were the ordinary objects that made emergencies smaller: gaffer tape, safety pins, a power bank, stain remover, 2 black pens, antacid, and a miniature flashlight. Daniel's leather presentation folio was wedged beside it. I took that out too. He had followed me. "What are you looking for?" "Anything else of mine you volunteered." "It's a tote bag, Mara." "It's a tote bag when I carry it, and a rescue kit when you need it." He glanced toward the entrance. Everett and several others were moving inside. "Can you give me the folio? I have notes in there." I handed it to him. "Your medication is in the side pocket." He checked. "Why?" "Because you asked me to pack it." "I mean, why are you saying that like you're resigning from a position?" "Because apparently I held one." He made a frustrated sound and tucked the folio under his arm. "Come back upstairs. We'll sort out the registration." I don't want a badge someone prints after being cornered. "So what do you want?" "I want you to understand why I shouldn't have to corner you." He looked at the stone facade of the lodge, at the windows glowing above us. "I cannot do this here." "That's the first true thing you've said all afternoon." I closed the hatch. The valet hovered near the driver's door. "Will you be going out again, ma'am?" "No, thank you." I slipped the key into my purse. Daniel watched. "I may need the car in the morning." "Ask me in the morning." His eyebrows rose. "Are we rationing the car now?" "It's my car. It's our car. The title and loan are in my name, because your credit was better when we bought it, and I've made every payment since." He stepped closer, dropping his voice. "This is financial punishment." "No, I'm telling you to ask before you use something that isn't automatically yours." "We're married." "Yes." The word stayed between us longer than it should have. Inside, the reception had broken into smaller groups. Celeste was nowhere on the terrace. Patrice sat near the fireplace, turning the pages of the retreat program with the air of someone reading unfavorable lab results. She looked up at my tote. "Leaving?" I considered it. "But my husband's medication is here, his presentation is tomorrow, and his mother would tell everyone I stranded them in the mountains. She'd probably say it with great sadness." I laughed despite myself. Patrice folded the program. For what it's worth, spouses were absolutely included in the full package. My wife couldn't come, and they refunded her meal fees. So he removed me. It sounds that way. I sat in the chair opposite her. "Why tell me?" Because there's tact and then there's assisting a lie. People confuse them when the liar went to a nice college. Her matter-of-fact tone was a relief. She did not ask whether Daniel had always been like this or advise me to leave him. She simply slid the program across the table. The closing dinner page listed reception at 6, seating at 7, remarks at 8:30. At the bottom was a note thanking Daniel and Celeste Ellis for their invaluable planning guidance. I read it twice. Patrice saw where I stopped. That was added this morning. The original program thanked the planning committee. Who is Lenora Vale? Black dress, headset, expression of someone who has been asked to make ice less cold. I remembered the woman arguing about high-top tables. She runs the association? She's executive director, small staff, large collection of people who believe dues entitle them to rearrange reality. Celeste said she had coffee with her last month. Celeste has had coffee with everyone. It's how she turns acquaintances into witnesses. I looked at the note again. Did Daniel volunteer for the committee? He appeared in the emails about 6 weeks ago. He said he and his family had extensive hospitality experience. His family. A useful little word. It could include my experience without including me. Patrice leaned back. Lenora has been overwhelmed. The banquet manager resigned last week. The replacement knows the property, but not this group. Your husband and his mother arrived with solutions. Photocopied solutions. I gathered that. I closed the program. Do you have Lenora's email? Patrice gave it to me without asking what I intended to send. Upstairs, Daniel was gone. I locked the door, placed the blue notebook on the desk, and photographed every tab Celeste had added. Then I opened my laptop and wrote Lenora a short message. The floor plans and service notes provided by Daniel and Celeste Ellis were copied from my professional notebook without my permission. Glasshouse Hospitality is not engaged for this event, and neither Daniel nor Celeste is authorized to offer my future services. Please remove my company and my materials from any retreat or fundraising plans. I attached photographs showing my embossed name and the original dated pages. My finger hovered over send. Sending it could damage Daniel's chance with Everett. It could make me look petty. It could turn a private betrayal into a professional fact that neither of us could smooth away later. Then I remembered Daniel saying my absence was practical. I sent it. His personal card was linked to our household account. We'd agreed to use it for groceries and joint expenses while he looked for work, but over the last 2 months, Joint had expanded to include lunches with contacts, a new leather folio, and $300 in alumni retreat charges he called relationship investments. I opened the banking app and froze the card. My phone rang less than 10 minutes later. Mara. Daniel's voice was controlled. Did you do something to the card? Yes. I'm standing at the bar with Everett. Then use your own card. You know my account is low. Come upstairs and we'll talk about a budget. Unfreeze it. No. A pause. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its polish. You are deliberately sabotaging me. I've paid for the room, gas, and retreat. You can survive 1 drink. It was a round. Then I've saved you even more. He hung up. I expected him to come upstairs angry. Instead, Celeste arrived. She knocked this time. When I opened the door, she entered holding her purse against her ribs. The green scarf was gone from her neck, folded over one wrist. Daniel is humiliated. He survived? He had to let Everett pay. Everett can afford it. You find this funny? Not especially. She laid the scarf over the back of a chair and faced me. Without it, she looked less armored. The skin at her throat was soft and finely lined. You may think I don't understand what's happening, she said. I do. He's ashamed. So he gets to erase me. He's trying to stand up again. On my back. Her mouth tightened. You have always needed credit. For my own work? Yes. For every kindness, every expense, every time you make a meal or remember an appointment, you put it in an invisible ledger. I almost told her that no one keeps a ledger until somebody begins making withdrawals. Instead, I said, "Why did you toast us at our wedding?" She blinked. You wore that scarf. You said you were gaining a daughter. I was. Then why have you spent 12 years treating me like hired help Daniel sleeps with? Color rose along her neck. That is vulgar. It's accurate. I have tried to make you part of this family. You moved my coat into the basement the first day you visited. There was no room. There was plenty of room after you removed me. For a second, she looked genuinely startled. Perhaps she did not remember. That made it worse in a different way. She picked up the scarf. Daniel told Lenora you've been under pressure at work. He is trying to explain your behavior before your email causes damage. My stomach went cold. What did he say? That you've become possessive about routine materials, that you're threatened by his connections. He asked Lenora not to engage while you're upset. He told her I'm unstable. He told her you're struggling. And you came here to make sure I knew? I came to ask you to stop. No, you came to enjoy being the reasonable woman. Her face changed. The hurt was real, which did not make it innocent. You think I want my son dependent on you? There it was, clean and bright. I think you hate it, I said. He has lost confidence. A wife should help restore it. I have paid every bill for 8 months. Money is not the same as loyalty. Apparently, loyalty means he can take my money, my work, and my place at the table, and I smile so he feels tall. He needs people who believe in him. He needs to tell the truth. Celeste wrapped the scarf once around her hand. If Everett learns the full situation now, Daniel will lose the only serious opportunity he's had. Then Daniel should have told Everett before asking him for one. You would let him fail to prove a point. I'm letting him carry his own weight. You say that because you know he can't. The sentence hit the place Daniels had missed. Celeste saw it. Regret crossed her face, but she did not take the words back. I opened the door. She paused beside me. Lenora has removed the planning credit from tomorrow's printed menu. I hope that was worth it. It wasn't about the credit. It always is. After she left, I checked my email. Lenora had replied, "Thank you for clarifying. I apologize for the use of your materials. I have asked the committee to discontinue them and will address future services separately. Professional, careful. No mention of Daniel's warning. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I imagined him downstairs telling Everett his wife was jealous of his college friends, and Celeste's version of me began to take shape in my own mind. Sharp, territorial, keeping score. I slept badly. At 7 the next morning, Daniel dressed in silence for his walk with Everett. He took his medication from the folio without asking where it was. When he reached for my car key on the dresser, I covered it with my hand. I need to drive to the trail entrance. The lodge shuttle leaves in 10 minutes. He stared at my hand. You're enjoying this. I'm practicing. Practicing what? Saying no before I'm furious. He took the shuttle. His meeting with Everett lasted less than an hour. I saw them return through the lobby windows. Everett shook Daniel's hand, but the warmth from the day before was gone. Daniel found me at breakfast with Patrice. What did you tell him? He asked. Good morning to you, too. What did you send Lenora? Everett asked whether I had formal permission to share your company's plans. I told her the truth. Patrice set down her coffee. I'm going to get more fruit. You don't have to leave, I said. Daniel looked at her. Actually, this is private. Patrice remained seated. Then lower your voice. He looked stunned enough that I nearly smiled. Mara, he said, Everett thinks I misrepresented myself. Did you? I said we had experience. I have experience. We are married. Normal couples do not issue licensing agreements to each other. Normal husbands don't remove their wives from dinners they paid for. His expression shifted. For half a second, guilt surfaced. Then Celeste entered the dining room and saw us. She crossed quickly, concern already arranged on her face. Daniel, don't push her, she said. She's had a difficult night. Patrice's eyes narrowed. "I'm fine," I said. Celeste touched my shoulder. I moved away. That tiny movement did what she intended. Daniel looked wounded. 2 people at the next table glanced over. Celeste lowered her voice soothingly. "No one is attacking you, Mara." I didn't say anyone was. "We're worried." Daniel sat across from me. "Come home with me this morning." "What?" "We can leave after breakfast. Mom can ride back with the Hammonds tomorrow." Celeste's face flickered. She had not expected to be volunteered. "You want me gone," I said. "I want you somewhere you feel safe." "I feel safe here." "Then why are you freezing cards, withholding keys, and sending accusatory emails at midnight?" It was 9:40. "That is not the point." Patrice pushed her plate away. "I believe I will get that fruit now." She stood, squeezed my shoulder once, and left. The gesture undid me more than Celeste's performance had. Tears rose before I could stop them. Celeste inhaled softly. Daniel leaned back as if I had confirmed his diagnosis. I hated them for seeing the tears, and hated myself for giving them something they could use. "I'm going upstairs," I said. Daniel stood. "I'll come with you." "No. Mara, stay." This time, the word came out broken. I spent the day mostly alone. Daniel texted twice. First, "Please eat something." Then, "I still want you at the casual lunch if you can be civil." I did not answer. Near 5, I showered and put on the dark blue dress I had packed for the closing dinner. I did not know whether I was going in. I only knew I was done hiding in the room they had assigned me while using my money downstairs. The foyer seating display stood outside the ballroom. Brass holders lined a long table beneath cards arranged by number. I found mine at table 7. Someone had handwritten it. Before I could touch it, Daniel stepped out of the ballroom. He looked at the card, then at me. "I asked them to add you," he said. "Thank you. But if you're coming in there angry, you'll ruin the weekend." He pinched my name card between 2 fingers and slid it out of the brass holder. Behind him, Celeste approached the microphone, the green scarf bright at her throat. The blue notebook was under my arm. I had brought it because leaving it in the room suddenly felt like another form of permission. "Put my card back," I said. "You need to calm down first." "I am calm." "That's what you said at breakfast." He held the card at his side, his thumb covering my last name. Inside the ballroom, Celeste tapped a spoon against her glass. Conversation softened. She stood near the front table, smiling as though she had been invited to offer a blessing. "The best institutions endure because people understand their roles," she began. "They recognize that belonging is not simply showing up. It is knowing how to support the people whose work carries a legacy forward." Daniel glanced toward the doors. "Tell her to stop," I said. "She's giving a toast. She's talking about me. She is not saying your name." Celeste lifted her glass. The green silk at her throat caught the chandelier light. "So here's to good judgment," she said, "and to the wisdom of choosing more suitable wives, women who understand that support should never become competition." A few people shifted in their chairs. Everett looked down at the table. Patrice did not. She stared directly at Daniel. He gave me the tight smile he used when he wanted me to cooperate in making something disappear. "If you walk in now," he said, "you'll prove her point. You invited me here. I did not invite this version of you." The card bent in his hand. A woman hurried through the foyer doors with her headset hanging around her neck. Lenora Vale had lost the controlled expression she wore at the reception. Behind her, the banquet captain spoke urgently about 2 servers who had left, entrees cooling in the service corridor, and a timing sheet no one could locate. Lenora saw us and slowed. Her gaze dropped to the notebook. "Mara Ellis?" Something in her voice made Daniel turn. Lenora came closer. "Glasshouse Mara Ellis?" "We met at the Halpern Museum benefit," I said, though I remembered her only after I said it. She'd worn a red coat that evening and spent 20 minutes helping me move votive candles away from a leaking conservatory roof. "You turned the East Gallery into a dining room after the kitchen flooded." The conservatory became the service station. That notebook. She pointed. You had it that night. Daniel stepped forward. Lenora, Mara is actually taking some time. Lenora looked past him toward the ballroom. Celeste was continuing her toast, now praising the quiet dignity of people who did not demand recognition. The banquet captain appeared beside Lenora again. We need to decide now. If we hold the first course any longer, the squash is gone. Lenora pulled the microphone from its stand near the ballroom doors. Actually, she said into it, I need Mara to lead the closing dinner. Celeste stopped speaking. Lenora held the microphone toward me, but I did not take it. Daniel's face had changed. The concern was gone. So was the condescension. What remained was fear. Mara, he said softly, don't do this. I looked at the ballroom, then at Lenora. Do what exactly? Take over. I haven't agreed to anything. Lenora lowered the microphone. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm asking. The banquet captain said, We have a service schedule, but it's the wrong version. Mrs. Ellis told us speeches would begin before the first course. The program says after. Which Mrs. Ellis? Patrice called from her table. Celeste set down her glass. I could walk away. The idea felt clean for about 3 seconds. Let the soup cool. Let Daniel explain his plans. Let Celeste discover whether Dignity could reseat 84 guests and find 6 missing vegan entrees. Then I saw the servers clustered in the corridor. They were the ones who would be blamed. Lenora had used my work, but she had answered my email and removed the credit. The banquet captain looked furious rather than helpless, which I respected. I turned to Lenora. Glasshouse bills a 4-hour emergency minimum. My company gets written credit on the final event communication. Daniel and Celeste have no authority to approve, change, or communicate any part of the service plan. Lenora nodded. Agreed. In writing. She handed her phone to the captain. Email it now. Daniel stared at me. You're charging them? I'm working. This is my alumni association. Then sit down and let them feed you. The captain received the email, showed it to me, and asked, What do you need? A private room for 5 minutes, your current staffing list, and every printed schedule in circulation. I opened my notebook. The ballroom had 2 service entrances. The nearer one was clogged with a decorative dessert cart Celeste had asked to display early. We moved it. 6 high-top tables stood in the reception area, including the one that had held the projector. We converted 2 into water stations so servers stopped crossing the full room for refills. The missing servers had not left. They had been reassigned to a private dinner upstairs after someone at the lodge duplicated a room number. The captain retrieved them. The squash soup could not wait, so we served it while Lenora gave brief logistical remarks. I moved the alumni president's speech between the main course and dessert, where it had been on my original timeline. The vegan plates were not missing either. They were labeled V in a warming cabinet marked 5, and someone had read it as a room assignment. Ordinary mistakes, ordinary fixes. That was most competence, refusing to make confusion more glamorous than it was. Celeste approached while I was checking table numbers. The florist wants to know whether to move the arrangements before dessert, she said. Tell the florist to speak with the captain. I'm trying to help. I didn't ask you to. Her expression flickered. For once, there were too many witnesses for her to turn my refusal into hysteria. She lowered her voice. You are embarrassing, Daniel. He'll live. You're enjoying this. No, I met her eyes. That is the part neither of you understands. I was not enjoying it. My hands were steady, but something inside me had begun to shake. I could fix the dinner. I could not unhear my husband telling me which version of myself he was willing to invite. Celeste touched the green scarf. He made a mistake. He made a system. The captain called my name, and I walked away. Dinner recovered quietly. Plates arrived hot. Wine reached the back tables before the toast. The alumni president cut 6 minutes from his remarks after I showed him the service clock and asked which story he liked least. Dessert went out at 8:40. Lenora introduced me before coffee as the principal of Glass House Hospitality and thanked me for stepping in under contract. People asked for my card. Patrice requested 3 and said she had survived the Arts Council long enough to know who actually made events function. Everett found me near the service corridor. "I owe you an apology," he said. Daniel gave me the impression these were his plans. He gave everyone that impression. He also gave me a different impression of his current work. That conversation belongs to Daniel. Everett studied me for a moment. "You're kinder to him than he has been to you." I'm trying not to confuse honesty with revenge. Across the room, Daniel stood alone beside table 7. My handwritten card had been returned to the brass holder, but the chair remained empty. I finished the dinner. I did not sit beside him. Upstairs, he waited until the door shut before speaking. "You made me look like a fraud. You used my work and lied about it. You could have corrected the record privately." "I tried. You told everyone I was unstable. I said you were under pressure. You made my reaction the problem because explaining what you did would have made you look bad." He pulled off his tie. "Everett canceled the interview." "He offered an interview?" "This afternoon, then Lenora told him about your email." "Lenora told him you passed off plans you had no right to use. Do you hear yourself? We're married. Everything is a legal argument with you now." "No. It became an argument when 'we' meant you could take anything of mine and 'married' meant I couldn't object." He paced to the window. "My mother pushed too hard, I know that." "This is not about your mother. She gave the toast. You let her. I didn't know what she was going to say. You knew after the first sentence. You stood in the foyer and removed my name." He turned. "Because I knew you would walk in there and make a scene. I walked in and did the job you pretended you could do." He opened his mouth, then closed it. I placed the blue notebook in my suitcase and locked it. "I'm leaving in the morning," I said. "You and Celeste can arrange a ride." "You would strand us?" "There's a lodge shuttle to the train station at 10. "What happens when we get home?" "I don't know yet." That frightened him more than a threat would have. Celeste knocked before breakfast. I opened the door but did not invite her in. Her scarf was folded over her arm. "Everett has withdrawn his recommendation." I heard. "Daniel blames me. Convenient. He says the toast changed everything. The toast said aloud what both of you had already arranged." For the first time all weekend, Celeste had no polished answer. She looked down at the scarf. "I wanted him to feel like himself again," she said. "So did I. He used to be so confident." "I know. I thought if people saw him the way they once had, you thought I was blocking the view." Her silence admitted it. When I reached home, I called a locksmith. I changed the lock before Daniel returned and gave him 1 key after he agreed not to copy it. I moved household expenses into an account he could see but not spend from, canceled the shared card, and made a list of what I would cover for the next 60 days. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, nothing related to alumni dinners, professional lunches, or preserving appearances. He called it punishment. I called it the first budget we had both been forced to read. For 6 weeks, we attended counseling. Daniel spoke eloquently about Celeste's influence, her expectations, the pressure to succeed. He cried once while describing the afternoon Mercer eliminated his position. I held his hand because I still loved him. Then the counselor asked what he believed he had taken from me. Daniel said, her trust. "What did you do with it?" she asked. He looked at me for help. That was the moment I chose. The divorce was quieter than our marriage had become. Daniel moved into a furnished apartment. Celeste returned items from the townhouse in carefully labeled boxes. Winter clothes, books, a silver serving tray she had always claimed was hers. At the bottom of the last box lay the green scarf. Months later, Lenora hired Glass House for another museum dinner. Rain struck the conservatory roof while I checked the tables, making the old panes shimmer. My blue notebook had begun splitting at the spine. I folded the scarf lengthwise and wrapped it around the loosened cover, tying it once so the silk held. Then I carried it into the glass room where my name was already waiting at every place it belonged.